Hey there, caffeine curious. Welcome back to BrewTok, your favorite channel where every cup of coffee comes with a side of facts, flavor, and a splash of controversy. Today, we're diving deep into a question that's been percolating through memes, TikToks, and even doctors' offices. Is coffee addiction real, or just another trendy excuse to sip 6 lattes a day? Grab your cup, decaf or double shot, we won't judge, and let's break down what's true, what's myth, and what your brain might not want you to know about your daily brew. Let's start with something simple, but not easy. What is addiction? Most of us throw the word around lightly, but in neuroscience and clinical psychology, addiction has a much more serious definition. Addiction is a chronic dysfunction of the brain's reward, motivation, and memory systems. It's about compulsive use, loss of control, and continued behavior despite negative consequences. Think of drug addiction, alcoholism, or gambling disorder. These don't just involve pleasure, they involve a hijacking of brain circuitry. So where does coffee land? That's the million-bean question. Is your morning cup just a habit you enjoy, or is it a mini ritual of dependence dressed up in latte foam? Science says caffeine does stimulate the brain's dopaminergic pathways, just like many addictive substances. But, and this is important, it's not as hijacking or damaging as, say, cocaine or nicotine. Caffeine triggers the reward system, but it doesn't hold it hostage. Still, it can build tolerance, create withdrawal symptoms, and lead to compulsive use for some people. Sound familiar? Well, let's keep going. Picture this. It's early morning, your alarm is screaming, your bed is warm, and your soul is not ready. You shuffle into the kitchen, eyes half closed, and press the button. Coffee gurgles to life. Within minutes, your brain feels switched on, alert, motivated, alive. So what just happened? Caffeine is a stimulant, but not just any stimulant. It's a central nervous system stimulant that plays a clever trick on your brain. It blocks a neurotransmitter called adenosine, the chemical responsible for making you feel sleepy. Adenosine builds up throughout the day, signaling your brain to wind down. When caffeine blocks it, you feel energized and alert because the brakes have been cut. But wait, there's more. When adenosine is blocked, the brain responds by ramping up the production of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. This is the same dopamine system involved in pleasure, motivation, and yes, addiction. That's why your first cup often feels like a reward, a high five to your brain. It's chemistry, not just comfort. Over time, though, your brain adjusts. It builds more adenosine receptors to balance out the daily caffeine invasion. Which means, you guessed it, you need more coffee to feel the same buzz. And that, right there, is where the debate begins. Is this addiction, or just adaptation? Let's take it further. You wake up late one morning. There's no time for coffee, you tell yourself, but by noon, your head is pounding. You're foggy, irritable, and everything feels off. Welcome to caffeine withdrawal, the moment your body calls you out for skipping the ritual. Let's break it down. Caffeine withdrawal symptoms can start within 12 to 24 hours after your last dose. They peak between 24 to 72 hours and can last for over a week in sensitive individuals. The most common signs: headaches, that deep, tight, can't focus kind; fatigue, like someone pulled your power plug; irritability, everything and everyone is annoying; depressed mood or anxiety; brain fog and difficulty concentrating; and sometimes, flu-like symptoms, muscle pain, nausea. Sound extreme for a beverage. Here's the catch. The World Health Organization, WHO, recognizes caffeine withdrawal as a clinically significant syndrome, meaning it's not just in your head. It's real. Your brain got used to the daily stimulation, and now it's struggling without it. But here's the nuance. Withdrawal doesn't always equal addiction. After all, we don't call someone addicted to water just because they get dehydrated. So where do we draw the line? Okay, so your brain throws a tantrum when you skip your latte. But does that make you addicted? Let's zoom out. In neuroscience and psychology, terms like addiction, dependence, and habit aren't just thrown around, they each mean something specific. Addiction, this involves compulsive use of a substance, despite negative consequences, and often includes a loss of control. It hijacks your brain's reward circuit, typically involving dopamine. Think gambling, opioids, or alcohol. You know it's hurting you, but you can't stop. Dependence. This refers to physical adaptation. Your body gets used to a substance and reacts negatively when you remove it, withdrawal symptoms, like headaches or fatigue. But you can function without it once the withdrawal period passes. This is where caffeine often fits. Habit. A behavior repeated so often, it becomes automatic. You make your morning coffee without thinking. It's not driven by need, but by routine, comfort, maybe even nostalgia. So is caffeine addictive? Science says, mildly. Yes, caffeine stimulates dopamine transmission, but not at the same intensity as hard drugs. And while some people report cravings, most can reduce or quit with only temporary discomfort. The DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, doesn't officially recognize caffeine addiction, though it does list caffeine withdrawal and caffeine intoxication as diagnosable conditions. Translation: you're probably dependent, maybe even psychologically attached, but addicted. Not likely, unless your usage is seriously disrupting your life. In fact, many health experts compare caffeine to sugar or social media, stimulating, slightly addictive in behavior, but rarely in the clinical sense. But if you're pouring cup after cup to stay upright, and skipping coffee turns you into a zombie with a migraine, you're not alone, and it may be time to reevaluate your relationship with the magic of coffee. One sip and suddenly your foggy brain is clear, your mood lifts, and the world feels conquerable. But what exactly is happening in your brain when caffeine hits? Let's break it down science style, but friendly. The antagonist hero. Caffeine blocks fatigue. Caffeine's main trick? It blocks a neurotransmitter called adenosine. Adenosine builds up in your brain the longer you're awake, binding to receptors that make you feel sleepy. But caffeine steps in and mimics adenosine, binding to those same receptors. The result? Increased alertness and a temporary pause on sleepiness. It's like putting duct tape over the brain's time to rest button. But that's not all. Blocking adenosine causes a domino effect. It indirectly boosts dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. It spikes adrenaline, giving you that buzz. It enhances norepinephrine and serotonin, elevating mood and focus. This cocktail of brain chemistry is why you feel sharper, faster, maybe even happier for a while. Some people say they feel like a better version of themselves. Confident, social, productive, motivated. That's powerful and for some, hard to give up. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your brain is a creature of habit. When something consistently makes you feel good, it starts to anticipate it. Even the smell of coffee or the sound of your machine brewing can trigger a preemptive dopamine release. This is called classical conditioning, and it reinforces the ritual of coffee just as much as the chemical effects. So while caffeine works its magic chemically, your morning routine becomes a mental ritual. And soon, coffee isn't just a drink. It's a cue for wakefulness, productivity, maybe even identity. Too much caffeine, however, throws this balance off. Your brain adapts to the constant adenosine blocking by making more adenosine receptors. So you need more caffeine to feel the same effect. And when you skip it, all that extra adenosine floods your receptors, leading to crashing fatigue, headaches, and irritability. Sound familiar? That's dependence. Not dangerous in moderation, but very real. So is your love for coffee a sign of addiction? Maybe not, but the science shows it definitely feels addictive because it works directly on the systems that regulate pleasure, focus, and energy. Let's talk about something coffee lovers don't really want to admit. Sometimes it just doesn't work anymore. You sip, you wait, and nothing. No jolt. No mental fireworks. No spark. What happened? Caffeine tolerance is a real and well-documented phenomenon. Here's how it works. Your brain wants homeostasis, a stable balance. When caffeine keeps blocking adenosine every day, the brain responds by producing more adenosine receptors. So even though you're still drinking the same amount of coffee, your brain is less responsive to it. That morning espresso, it used to hit like lightning. Now it's barely a flicker. And worse, if you stop, those extra receptors flood your system with adenosine, leading to withdrawal symptoms like fatigue, fog, and headaches. So what do? We drink more. 1 cup becomes 2, then 3, maybe 4. Before you know it, you're chasing the same feeling with higher doses. But it's like trying to fill a bucket full of holes. It looks like this. You wake up groggy because your body is no longer producing natural alertness hormones at full strength. You drink coffee to wake up. You feel okay, but only for a bit. You crash, then drink more coffee to recover. By bedtime, you're wired so you can't fall asleep easily. You sleep poorly and wake up groggy. Repeat. Every day. The tragedy? You're not really enhancing your energy. You're fixing the crash caused by the last cup. A fascinating study in the Journal of Psychopharmacology showed that regular caffeine users don't actually perform better than non-users once withdrawal is factored in. Translation: the perceived boost from coffee may just be relief from withdrawal symptoms, not actual improved function. Ouch! Can you reset your tolerance? Yes, but it takes guts. Taking a caffeine break for 7-14 days can reset your sensitivity. Your brain reduces those extra adenosine receptors over time. When you reintroduce caffeine in smaller amounts, it feels magical again. It's not easy, but if you're wondering why your 5th cup isn't hitting the same, your brain might just be asking for a break. We've talked about science. We've talked about habits. Now let's talk about culture. Because sometimes the thing we think we're addicted to is actually part of who we think we are. Coffee is more than a drink. It's a ritual. It's identity. It's a lifestyle wrapped in roasted beans and Instagram filters. Let's face it, coffee shops are the modern-day campfires. It is a social script, a date, a business meeting, a break from life. Don't talk to me until I've had my coffee isn't just a meme, it's a shared language. And for many people, coffee isn't optional, it's a cornerstone of their daily rhythm. We might be poking at something deeper. Are you addicted to the buzz? Or to the version of yourself that coffee helps you play? Let's not ignore the branding. A $6 artisan latte in a minimalist cup says something. Coffee culture has become its own economy. From curated beans and single-origin brews to barista competitions and TikTok trends. It's not just caffeine, it's coolness, comfort, control. Even quitting coffee, I'm caffeine-free now, has become a kind of new wellness badge. So ask yourself, are you chasing caffeine or chasing an image? Neuroscience shows us that identity-based habits are the hardest to change. Why? Because they're not about what you do, they're about who you are. If coffee lover is part of your self-image, giving it up can feel like losing a part of yourself. Even if your body's fine, your ego might protest. This is why many people defend their coffee use passionately. Not because they need the stimulant, but because they don't want to lose the ritual, role, or belonging that comes with it. It's not just about caffeine. It's about identity, social currency, morning rituals, comfort during chaos, control in a busy world. In short, you might not be addicted to coffee, but to what it represents. And that's a different kind of dependency, one that's psychological, cultural, and deeply personal. So you've heard the science, you've felt the symptoms, and now you're asking the big question. Do I need to stop drinking coffee altogether? Or can I just cut back and call it a day? Let's get something straight. Not everyone needs to quit coffee cold turkey. In fact, for most people, it's not necessary or even helpful. The goal isn't to demonize coffee, it's to get clear on your relationship with it. This is where the idea of conscious consumption comes in. Are you sipping that latte because it tastes amazing and you enjoy the ritual? Or are you clutching that cup like a life raft, unable to function without it? If it's the former, cool. If it's the latter, well, it might be time for a coffee check-in. One of the biggest reasons people fear quitting coffee is withdrawal. And yeah, it can suck. Headaches, fatigue, irritability, brain fog. But here's the good news, it's temporary. Most symptoms peak within 24 to 48 hours and fade after about a week. Think of it like this, your body isn't punishing you. It's rebalancing. If going cold turkey feels too extreme, try tapering. Here's a smart strategy. Week 1, reduce by 25%. If you drink 4 cups, go to 3. Week 2, switch 1 cup to decaf. Week 3, delay your first cup by 1 hour after waking. Week 4, try 1 coffee-free day a week. This isn't a punishment. It's a gentle way to listen to your body without going into shock. A funny thing happens when you cut back or quit. You start to notice how your natural energy actually works. You realize that morning grogginess might have had more to do with bad sleep or chronic stress than a lack of caffeine. You discover that your body can function, maybe even better, without constantly being in a chemically propped-up state. And best of all, when you do have coffee again, it feels like magic. 1 cup, that's it, total alertness. Let's not turn coffee into a moral issue. Drinking coffee doesn't make you weak. Quitting coffee doesn't make you superior. This is about awareness, not judgment. Let's bring it all together. We've sifted through memes, dived into neuroscience, explored social rituals, and looked caffeine square in the eye. So what's the final answer? Is coffee addiction real or just a trendy excuse for being tired? Here's the truth. Caffeine addiction, in the clinical sense, is real. It affects brain chemistry, alters mood, causes withdrawal symptoms, and can create genuine dependence in certain individuals. But for the vast majority of us, it lives in that gray area called habit. And habits, unlike addictions, are changeable, with awareness, intention, and maybe just a little less espresso. The line is crossed when coffee isn't just a part of your day, but the thing that defines your day. If you can't function, focus, or feel human without it, you're not drinking coffee anymore. Coffee is drinking you, and that's worth reflecting on, not with guilt, with curiosity. On the other hand, if coffee brings you joy, enhances your life, and you're in control of how and when you drink it, that's a ritual, not a reliance. Just like some people wind down with a glass of wine or energize with a morning run. Coffee can be a tool, a comfort, a companion. The difference is in conscious choice. The smartest expert you'll ever have isn't on YouTube. It's not a doctor. It's not a neuroscientist. It's your own body. Are you jittery after your second cup? Is your sleep suffering? Do you feel anxious for no reason? That's feedback, not failure. Adjust. Experiment. Observe. You don't need to cancel coffee. You just need to stop letting it make all the decisions. So, is coffee addiction real? Yes, but it's not always a problem. What matters more than any label is your relationship with the cup. Not whether you drink it, but why. If it's joy, keep sipping. If it's fear, stress, or autopilot, maybe it's time to take back the reins. And hey, no matter what you decide, just know that you're not the only one navigating this buzzed-up, bean-powered world. One cup at a time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into your favorite brew and want more no-fluff breakdowns of health, habits, and the science behind your daily decisions, don't forget to subscribe, give that like button a little caffeine buzz, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. What's your relationship with coffee? Ritual or addiction? I'm listening. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and maybe don't reach for that fourth cup.